My best kept secret for starting a business? It's LegalZoom. When I was ready to launch my consulting practice, I didn't know where to start. A friend told me about LegalZoom and how they've helped millions of business owners form their LLCs, file all the necessary paperwork, making things actually official, and keeping them compliant after lunch. Sure enough, I headed over to LegalZoom, answered a few easy questions, and in barely any time, my LLC became official. It was easier and faster than I thought. I'm trying to run my business, not learn the ins and outs of the law. I'm grateful I found legal.
Sorry, I didn't realize it was muted there. Hey, y'all. All right. Building it as we're flying it, right? Ready to start here in just a second. Well, hey, y'all. Good to see you again. Let me turn off this music before it starts blaring again. Just a moment. Don't want it to go too far because we got stuff to discuss. I hope things are good wherever you are in the world. And ideally, as we're going, we'll be starting to build a community and a good space for filmmakers and musicians alike to talk about our experiences, right? So, yeah, we're starting today's stream out with a topic on film and is your film worthy of its music? So, yeah, so for those of you who were on last week, we talked about some cool stuff. We talked about the piece that I did for my final project for college, Valiant, and we went over some of the details of the what's it called, the score, also the instrumentation, choices that were made, things we could have did better. There was a lot of good stuff that we did at least with that piece. But it's in the past, and maybe we'll come back and visit again in the next few years. And I plan to at least do some of the what are they called? Some of the other pieces that I've done. We had a program over the summer of 2023 in Greece where we got to work with the Athens Orchestra. And yeah, sorry, Athens Film Orchestra. There's a difference between regular orchestra and film orchestra. And they did some amazing work on the piece that I worked on, and I was really, really happy with the outturn of it. And yes, maybe we'll circle back around, talk a little bit about that experience, what happened there. But today we have a very, very important topic, and it's really geared towards filmmakers. So we'll go ahead and get into it. The topic is your film worthy of its music? Um, so to start out, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about why I made the switch from filmmaking into, I'm sorry, from composing into filmmaking. It's doesn't seem like the most orthodox path. But it has happened. I'm sure there have been multiple composers who've gone into the realm of filmmaking. But I wanted to specifically go over my motives and the reasoning behind of the switch for me from um, composing into filmmaking. So to kind of get into it, all of it boils down to storytelling. How are we telling a story that is going to ideally reach somebody in a impactful and intentional way? I mean, in the switch, one thing I have noticed is that the writing for film is very similar to the writing in music, right? It's all about tension, release, and understanding the why behind your story. Why is this story worth somebody's time? Why is it worth somebody's energy? What can they ideally learn from it? What experience do I have that could potentially be valuable to somebody else? And everybody has their different reasons for writing different things, and I think um, there's a level of honesty in that, and vulnerability to some degree. And but at the end of the day, is or at least for me, I've always wanted to approach this in a way. What do I have that could be offered to somebody else in a way that could ideally, maybe somebody who hasn't um, experienced something to the degree I have. How could I help somebody who is, I may not even know, understand how to deal with those situations? And I'm still a young person. I'm not by any means trying to say I know it all, because I definitely don't. I've got a lot to learn and a lot to grow with. And I you know take the example of or the I'm sorry, the phrase of Denzel Washington is the beginning of the life you learn, the middle of the life you earn, then in the end of the life you return. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, a lot of wisdom in knowing when you don't know something, and learning how to build value in that, and then returning that value to someone else. All of us, the only thing that's guaranteed in life is a grave to all of us, right? So I won't go down the philosophical route there, but art is different from um, the sciences. Particularly because art, no one can make the same art. And of course, we influence each other, and a lot of the choices we make are influenced by what we do, which was a compositional thing. I learned that in composing, that we all have influences and things that affect our music, but how do we learn to use those influences and create our own thing? And that's why well, I can't say that's the reason why I moved into filmmaking, but I felt that filmmaking was an opportunity to have a bigger impact on what I can offer somebody who may have gone through or is going through some struggle similar to my own, and then to also learn from the struggles of other people through their writing as well. So for me, it became a natural thing. I mean, it became a transition that to some degree has been um, very, very fluent transition into to writing and to writing specifically for film. And which goes back to your question, is your film worthy of its music? The idea of film music has a different connotation than I would even say regular orchestral music is. I mean, because I mean, yeah, regular orchestral music is about telling the story, right? I mean, it's about if you see all these musicians. One second, we'll get a orchestra up here. We'll take University of Texas orchestra. Very very astounding orchestra here. Um, right? I mean, well, where'd the picture go? Uh, keeps taking me to the main page, which is cool. Right, we'll share that with you so that it's not just my face the whole time here. So we're sharing that. Oop, share. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean it's all about telling story through the music, and it's a different medium, and it takes a little bit more knowledge, I would say, specifically in this context of music and what music is you can do with music. And again, as I mentioned before in our previous stream, it's all about following the story through the harmony, right? And making it clear what your intention is. And for those who study theory and those who know the instruments and understand compositional techniques and counterpoint and all these levels of different things that make the orchestra work, it's a very, very good place to tell a story. But the thing is that why film music and I'm sorry, yeah, film music and ultimately film is different is because in the context of the orchestra, you have to know the basics of music and how it's functioned since the Baroque and Middle Ages to understand where music is today and how to follow the story, which again, a lot of people in our day and age don't, have the time or really in some cases the attention span to go through all that. But yeah, I mean, it's important in that context of music. Film and film music are two different, is a whole different ballgame. While you're still working in that same medium, of course, with the orchestra, now like I've mentioned before, different things have changed. People have changed in their perception of music, and now we have different genres coming in. We have the jazz, we have still the orchestral, we have the rock, we have the pop, we have so many things that are contributing to what we have now, which is film music. And and one thing stands about above all is that this music is so much simpler. It's simpler not in the sense of becoming so simple that it's like spoon feeding a baby, but in some ways it is. I mean, but it's not in the sense of trying to make people feel dumb or anything like that, but it's about making sure our intent is clearly stated throughout the project, the film. In this case, music is serving the film. And so that going back to that question, is your film worthy of its music is an important one because it is a predecessor as to why, or specifically for me, why I moved into filmmaking. And a lot of the reasoning behind it was because film composers and musicians look for specific things when they're writing for film. And it's particularly important because we're there to make the film more impactful. We're there to convey the emotions that words can't speak. We read in between the lines, and that's our job as film composers is to say what words cannot say. And that comes through harmonic language, through style, comes through instrumentation, comes through a multitude of things. But the film itself has to allude to that. And how I've always viewed it, I viewed as the film as the outline, and the music is filling in the gaps between what is being said or shown and creating an atmosphere that is what ultimately the audience is going to gain the most from. Because I mean, words, yes, words can be very, very powerful, but words, there's an underlying foundation specifically in film music, and we'll go through that once we get to I have a couple of clips from some trailers that we'll take a look at specifically. But ultimately, composers are not there to try to outshine the film, but the project, I've had a couple cases where, of course, filmmakers, they want the best for their project, right? And they want to, work with a example of an orchestra like we see on the screen. It's tradition. Of course, now there's a lot more nuance to that. We can have cases of rock bands and, even as simple as a piano or small instruments, things like that. But my question, particularly to filmmakers, are if you want music that is this big, is your film concept big enough to handle music this big? Which is what alludes to the question, is your film worthy of its music? Because for a film to have an orchestra, specifically in this case, this big, that of musicians who trained years, I mean like literally 10 to 15 years on their craft, your film has to have a big enough concept that can handle that. And I'm not saying that every film needs to have a massive 60-piece or 90-piece orchestra. I mean, not all films are about being pulling out the Hans Zimmer methods and having massive drums, and obviously some do, but I don't think, or at least in my experience with some of the filmmakers I've worked with particularly, that this is given enough thought, and given enough thought to the degree of what atmosphere is your music creating, and what is it telling that the dialogue is not telling itself. What is it telling about the characters? What is it telling about what they want? What is it telling about where the plot is moving? And some of the things I think in the future, with specifically with these streams, I want to go with through is my character analysis approach. I of course try to find unorthodox ways of approaching writing characters, but particularly with the Hive, I made it was very important to me to approach it that way and to give a level of variety in the type of characters you would meet, the type of characters who may have, the be very expressive with their feelings, some not so much, some who are more about being a thinker and being objective about things, and how that psychological um, these psychological personas play into the what you're seeing, what's being lit, what's being said, and ultimately what's being heard through sound design and music. And we won't even go into sound design today because sound design is a whole other animal. But specifically music. Is your film worthy of its music? Is your concept big enough? Or if it's small, is it intentionally small enough to handle the music that is being written for it? And that's the whole idea. And that ultimately again was one of the reasons why I approached composing the way I did. And I'm sorry, getting into producing the way I did, because I noticed a pattern, particularly on the films that I worked on. And but it wasn't even just the films that I worked on. It, excuse me, it was also the films that um, my friends were working on. Is that, there's so much capability, so much variety, so many places that music can go. And I won't get into the theory behind it, the modes and the instrumentation and the orchestration and but just the palette of options that are available. And a lot of the films that we specifically were working on were not giving that level of appreciation as to what could be written and what could. And ultimately, again, the music is designed to serve the film, right? So projects that are good, music can make absolutely great and can carry a film. I mean, we think an example, The Last Airbender, right? I mean, absolutely love. Everybody knows James, or most people know James Newton Howard, the astonishing composer. Done astonishing work on multiple series, including The Hunger Games, a lot of animated series that you may have heard of. But even in that film, the level of care that James Newton Howard put into that score is beyond belief. And that score, I mean, although it was a horrible, film, the film wasn't that great, or at least according to reviews. And we won't get into the nuances of The Last Airbender, but music did its job. Music did its job, and it did it really, really well in that film. Particularly the last scene where the giant waves about to crush all the ships, and Angus, he's doing his thing with the his bending. And James Newton Howard understood the assignment very, very well. That's what I mean when I say very, very big. And if you just give me a moment, we can actually pull up a couple of clips from that, and I can show you just a second here. One moment. Okay, sorry about that. We are back. Just a moment. Let me. So, of course, we're going to pause and stop as we're going through this to one, avoid the um, copyright stuff, but here we go. Okay. Ads. All right. So, yeah, so I want to go through this scene really quickly because this is exactly what I mean about big, and music needs to fill a space. So, for example, if you are writing to a room, or just let's focus on this scene, right? This scene in itself, of course, let's wait until he's actually looking at everything, right? So, yeah, a lot of stuff going on here. Big ships coming at sieging a entire city. It's big, massive even, and um that's how it's written. That's how the score is written, but it's really more, and this is what I mean about intent, because as big as it is, it doesn't start big. It starts from the interior of the character. What is going on inside of him, which in this case is very, very, I mean, obviously very big to the character, but it's confined. It's not what you're seeing here. And we're going to see an example of that as we're going through the music. I'm only going to do like 15 seconds once we get to that section. But obviously you can see it in this character's face, right? I mean, this is what we as composers look for. And as much as people dog on this film in particular, this scene was very, very powerful, right? So we're seeing the turmoil that's going on inside this character. And again, all this correlates back to the original topic theme: is your film worthy of its music? Because um, every film that a composer who is, especially a composer who knows what he's doing, is going to go this deep into the character. And as a director, as a producer, as an actor, obviously all this is stuff that should be considered long before it even gets to post production. But one, again, going back to the reason why I moved from composing to producing, is I was not seeing enough of this from the films that are not specifically from the films that are being made at obviously big studios and everything, but from my colleagues, I guess, if that makes any sense. And it's not in any way trying to dog on what was being produced, but for me, I said this is maybe a niche that I could get into, not coming as a composer, or I'm sorry, as a producer who it's gone through the traditional production um curriculum, or whatever you want to call it, that comes. Obviously there's great stuff in these schools, and I'm not trying to you know but to come in from the psychological aspect of what is music trying to tell the audience. And we're going to see an example of this. So we're going to notice how it starts out small. Of course, we get his character, we're looking in his eyes, and we're about to go through what he's going through psychological.
Like water.
So notice again, it does not start out loud. It does not start out big. It does not start out with blazing trumpets and high, but it starts out with something that's very, very simple, which again, it's different from orchestral music because orchestral in the orchestral setting, you have to, you know, assume that people know enough about theory and music, orchestral music in general, for them to understand the story. Not to say that the average person on the street can't understand orchestral music in the concert setting. But film is different because it's a collaborative art. It's collaboration between musicians, between directors, between lighting, between camera, between editing, between all these factors, VFX that go into what you're seeing on the screen here. So music, particularly in this case, has to be a servant to the bigger picture, which is again why for me producing became so much important because I love the big picture. And any of my friends can tell you a lot of the stuff I do is big because I love seeing something that is just bigger than myself, if that makes any sense. And the story here in every case should be bigger than any one single department, whether that's music, whether that's lighting, whether that's camera. But like I said, music in this case is in all cases, I would arguably say is important because it's reading through the lines, through what you're hearing here. I'm gonna go another 15 seconds. Music is reading in between the lines. So yeah, I mean, even in just that, I mean, we start to hear the music become bigger, and obviously we're starting to understand this character's struggle more. But again, I mean, so much stuff is happening here, not even just the music, but the camera movement, uh, as it's going from, I mean, it's giving so many like subtle signals away. And that's why I'm saying when I say is your film worthy? Are you creating opportunities for for music to do stuff like that? Because not only is the music, I mean, the camera in this particular case, I mean, it's not really a long take, but or it might be a long take. Let me take a look at it again. Sorry, try not to play it too much because obviously we don't own the rights to it. So uh, yeah, I mean that massive pull in to this character's obviously the tattoo's the main you know um signal of this character who's really important to our main character. And keeping in mind this is essentially just revisiting or visiting revisualizing um a massive moment in the character's journey, right? He has this big decision to make, and his main mentor is who's very, very hopeful of his ability to accept this. Obviously, he's not ready for it, and that is reflected on the mentor's face again, and then thus the main character, he runs away, right? So all this is inside him. So music has to do so much more because now we're getting to the point where this is about to come out, right? And if you're just reading the script, I could probably pull up the script. Let me see. Let me see if I can find the script. ISLP script. No, no, that's not. Why is it frozen? Okay, now it's giving me issues. Just a second, we'll get this going up again. Just trying to find that script. And maybe that's something that we could try in the future. If y'all just wanna go through movie scripts, we could do that too. And like just watch like short clips of because obviously again, trying not to get copyright strikes here. But let's see. Share my screen again. Boop. There you go. And then let's see if they have The Last Airbender. Why does it keep doing this? Sorry about this, guys. Figure out what's going on here. I don't think they have The Last Airbender. Okay. We'll do without it. Yeah, but I think that's something I do want to try in the future is trying to do more script analysis. Just a second. Okay, y'all, we're back again. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties again. Building it as we're flying it, so things will get better as we go along. Let me just town here. Yeah, so where were we? We were talking about The Last Airbender. All right, so yeah, big moment in the character's story, and it's just building. The music's just building. So another 15 seconds. I gotta say this, just beautiful shots compositionally. I mean, these are just, yeah, well done by um Shyamalan. Yeah, and one other thing, I mean, yeah, because we're not gonna go through the whole film, but say what you want about this film. There's a lot. I agree. There's a lot of stuff wrong with it. And I mean, for the people that dog on it, this is not to say that he went um did made great decisions with the story that so many people loved. But in terms of filmmaking, here he's just doing a phenomenal job in terms of composition and creating a space for the music to do its thing. And I think a lot of that probably came from Shyamalan. I mean, obviously he's worked with James Newton Howard on multiple projects. This isn't his first. I mean, like even The Sixth Sense, if you ever get the opportunity to watch that film, phenomenal film. He just allows opportunity for things to happen musically, and he's doing the same thing here. This thing, again, all this started inside the character's, uh, psyche, and it's coming out now through his bending in this case, and again, big space for big music. So here we go. We're gonna see as this music becomes climaxes or goes to the climax. Oh, guys, I'm sorry for y'all, those of y'all who hate this film. This part right here is just straight cinema, or absolutely cinema. I cannot stress that enough. The shot itself, up to the character here. No, I'm not saying I'm not following story stuff. So I mean, I'm not saying that the story itself is great, but what Shyamalan did here is absolutely art in itself, and he's combining everything to send an intentional message. And regardless of how you feel about how you approach the story, you can understand this character's struggle at this moment. So what you're hearing, that's orchestra, choir, even some brass. I mean, again, just big. There's space for it, and it sounds right because of the cinema being doing what it needs to do to create space for big music like this. And what's even interesting about this, because the scene is referring to, flowing like water, what James Newton Howard is doing with his music is insanely clever, because if you notice, it's not even just in the matter of the dynamics, but in the matter of how the strings and the orchestra is moving. It's coming out and it's coming back in just like a wave. Da 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 da, 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 da. And then over and over again, you're just getting this higher buildup of orchestral movement until you get to a huge moment, and it's ready to just unleash itself, right? So here we go again. This is important because this is how you use an orchestra in film music. And it takes, in my personal opinion, I'm not, again, trying not to dog anybody, but it takes an understanding of how to create space for the music, from starting from the director and the producers, and into the script, into the acting, into the lighting, into the camera motion. All this, again, is vision that comes from the director, but it has to be in the film first before you can expect music to, because music is not designed to outshine the film in most cases. Now, I'm not saying that it can't, and there or find examples where it does it exceedingly well. Sinners, for those of you who've seen it, that scene where they're going through the tavern and they've got all the different styles of music, done absolutely phenomenally well. And that's why, and one reason why is because I imagine what's his name? Uh, Kubler knows Goringson very, very well, his style of writing, and they understand what they're trying to do in terms of the big picture. And again, is your film worthy of its music? Is your film creating opportunities musically for this to happen? Which means, and again, this is just how I'm approaching it specifically as I'm producing films now. Conversations with your composer should not start in post production. They should start well before you. I mean, even when you have a script completed, you both have to be on the same page. You have to know what the intent of the character is. What is the psychology of these characters? What are they going through? And then obviously the composer knows the music side of it, but I mean, it's like kind of like quote unquote a therapy session, right? So I mean, yeah, it's understanding how to read in between the lines. That's what the composer is looking for. How can I make this project better? How can I give say what your dialogue is not saying? How can I say what your actors are not saying when they're giving certain facial expressions? How can I say create an atmosphere for your audience to make assumptions about what this character is feeling and what that character is trying to tell them? Because the music is doing that just as much as your dialogue in the film is doing that. And because we're in a collaborative art, it's important. And I don't approach this topic to say that music is more important than film, because it's not. I'm here to say that film is enhanced by its music, and your composer, if you have a composer who genuinely is well versed in the art of making music for film, will understand how to read in between those lines. And that is insanely important. And every shot, every camera movement, every lighting, every word of dialogue should reflect what your uh um should be intentional enough for your composer to be able to create something great out of it. And this is just one example of it. We'll go. Let me hop onto a trailer real quick. What's this trailer? Oh yeah, the Infinity War trailer. Yeah, yeah, this one's fire. I remember when it came out, absolutely a bomb. Let's see here. But yeah, again, that's why I jumped into producing. It's because now, as a composer, I know what a lot of my colleagues are looking for, and now it's about creating opportunities for their music to do what it needs to do to make the story even better. Um and and now that level of responsibility, uh I cherish it, because it's ultimately it boils down to the producer and director's creative vision that's big enough to handle that. Now, obviously, there's the concerns, the budgeting, and everything like that. But I mean, it's even deeper than that. I mean, I've seen films that do not have insane budgets, doing it very, very well. I mean, we just went to a film festival not too long ago, and they had a professional grade composer who's doing music for Transformers, and he's scoring a student film that now granted I don't know how successful the film was, but I could tell the difference. You can tell the difference when a composer and director and producer and actors and DPs are all on the same page. You can tell the difference in how the project is presented. It matters because again, it's all about intent. And it's about your audience feeling what you're wanting them to feel. Now, and just like every other art, everybody will have their perception of what uh, you know, I don't go into as deep as telling people how what they should feel when it comes to film, because everybody, that's personal. If you take something, and that's even how I approached my music. Had a wonderful masterclass with Michael Abels, who gave a advice, which was to allow people to feel what they feel when it comes to your art. You know your intention, you know what you try to imply, and if it, of course, if it misses the mark, then that just tells you that in some way, shape, or form, you got to communicate it better. But how people perceive art is on them, and because that's their relationship to what they're either hearing or watching, and I have no right to encroach on that. But I know what my intent for the art was and what it means to me, and so that's the big thing. It's finding a balance between the two. But yeah, we're gonna go into the Avengers commercial real quick to see another example of how big music, uh, and writing for orchestra. I mean, this is probably as big as it gets, right? I mean, we're talking about galactic threats, and I mean, this is literally as big as Star Wars. I mean, right? So, you know, when I say big, again, we're talking about the space, the spacing. So let's take a look at the Avengers here.
The entire time I knew him, he only ever had one goal: to wipe out half the universe. If he gets all the Infinity Stones, he can do it with the snap of his fingers.
Yeah, I need to get better at making sure we're at 15 seconds again, trying not to get any copyright strikes here. But so much has happened in these first 20 seconds already. And you know what I'm thinking about actually doing is excuse me. What I'm thinking about doing is, because we're getting close to cutting our first trailer. What I'm thinking about actually doing is doing some sessions where we're pulling up the footage, and we're cutting it, and doing a live stream while we do it. Now, I won't do the whole trailer because, of course, we're trying to keep this as I don't want to give the whole film away. But yeah, I mean, again, this space is about building something together, right? So that's and for those of you who don't know, I know this is a quick side tangent on what Diamond Knight Studios is and what the goal is for our studio. The goal is to build something for those of us who do not have entryway into the gatekeep place that is Hollywood, and to build great projects together, and to create more original stories that will be, in some cases, risky, but will be so much more fulfilling than having the same things being made over and over again. and give opportunities to people that otherwise may not have had opportunities to have either something built for their demo reel, or something that just helps them to helps people to be a part of a project, right? A film project. So as we get closer to cutting the trailer, I know we're working on getting our next shoot completed within the next month, and plans are being made to get that done. We will come back and go through the trailers, and we can work on getting some footage up, and then cutting that trailer, a portion of the trailer together. I won't cut it all here, but yeah, I think that's a great idea. So as we're building our community here in the Diamond Night Studio space, you can expect more of that. Particularly, we'll start with trailers, and then maybe in the future we'll get into the script side of things, and you guys can actually help me build the film and build the project that leads up into the production. So you feel like you are part of the project, and decisions are made, or are being your what do you call it? Feedback is being taken in consideration. So yeah, continuing on with the trailer. So again, big music, big environment. Let's skip a little bit here because I don't want to again. So big bad villain, yeah. We won't go into the psychology of this character because obviously everybody knows Thanos, and he understands he's a very complex character. He's not even just a. I mean, he's a bad guy, but not like a you know a bad guy. And I have spectrums, like specifically when I'm writing characters. There's a spectrum from the level of evil that comes from a villain. So like I like to have this spectrum. Are they closer to Sauron, who is obviously the bad guy in Lord of the Rings? If you've seen Lord of the Rings, he's a giant eye on a tower. Um, who is just evil just to be evil, right? I mean, there's a difference between him and Thanos' character. Thanos, I would arguably say, is more humane in his approach. His approach is actually more understandable. Now, granted, I mean, obviously, those of you who haven't seen Endgame, I'm sorry, but it's been out for almost 10, well, at least 7 years. So if you have not seen the ending, I am sorry, I'm going to spoil it here. When he comes back in Endgame after he's killed in the beginning, um, he's a lot more brutal, and I would say he's a lot more like that Sauron version. I say because there's different levels of evil. So there's the evil to be evil, and then there's a whole nuance in between. Like I say this: there's the calculated evil, there's the cackling evil, there's the scientifically evil. Here, he's actually has a justified, quote unquote, justified reason for what he's doing. I mean, and ultimately, this is all based upon experience, and which makes it even that much more humane because he's only doing it from the stance that he understands the bigger picture. He's seen this stuff happen on his world. And we can do a whole stream specifically for analyzing characters in movies like this too, if y'all want. We're just kind of building it as we're flying. But I say that to say that what you're hearing in the music isn't, as much as it is a reflection of what the Avengers stand for, it's also a reflection of what they're going against, right? So this guy, yeah, he's a pretty bad dude, but let's continue.
We got one advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants.
So yeah, so much in just those 10 seconds. I mean, we got brass, we got major orchestral things happening here. We probably have more than the conventional orchestra, meaning like we probably have like bass sections that are massive, massive brass. I mean, could potentially be like up to 12 horns, lots of trombones, chimbasso, it's just big. I mean, and all things considered, considering these characters, considering what they're going up against, it makes sense, right? And so again, this film has already created space for this to happen. Now imagine if you were in a bedroom and yeah, you had another superhero, like say even Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man by himself, and his theme is massive like this, but I mean he's one individual character. Now granted, in that character's life, he probably has moments that are massive like this. If you've seen the second Spider-Man, that's a prime example of that. And I mean, even it being a superhero in itself could be arguably be something that's big enough to warrant that. But like, for example, if you ever get the chance to watch Daredevil, this is another example of a movie, or I'm sorry, a series that does that very, very well. His simple, his music is very, very simple, right? I mean, it's just I think it's on a mallet or maybe like um, I don't know exactly what instrument they use, but it's just a small little. I don't want to say jingle because it's not really a jingle, but a small little motif, which in music essentially is likened to a small little theme, like the same way you would hear Star Wars theme and you know exactly what it is. A motif operates similar to that. And like I said, most films now are kind of getting away from the harmonic, massive melodies type things. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be big all the time. But again, the character and the film has to create room for, if you want something this big, you have to have something this big, right? So, continue.
We got one advantage. He's coming to us. We have what Thanos wants, so that's what we use.
Skip forward a bit here. Obviously, some banter and everything like that. We'll come back to this. This is a prime example of what I'm saying about like lighting, positioning, camera. I mean, obviously, a lot of departments know this. They know their department. They know it very, very well. They do it very, very well, especially in the camera department, G&E, and lighting, everything like that. You know your department very, very well. But again, why I went into producing, because it's about the big picture, and a lot of departments don't actually see the big. I mean, for example, even actors, right? They come in, they do their part, they go home, right? But they don't oftentimes see the big picture. And producers, or at least this is my perception, I believe producers have the responsibility of carrying that big picture all the way until the end, and understanding that everything it's a giant system. It's a giant system that, for lack of better terms, it's a giant system. And yeah, so we all contribute to that system. All right, so here we go. Yeah, learning about his, yeah. Yeah, and just prime example of building stakes. We'll listen to this part because we'll see how the music does that. So, for example, every shot here, like for example here, the editing is getting more quicker, quicker, quicker. We're getting into triplets, and which is standard for film. Usually, film trailers, you get the triplet dot 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 dot, or the that happens very, very often. So, but the edits get quicker up until the moment where we get our big villain, and the stakes are just rising again. So this is the film making opportunities for music. So here we go.
As all things should be. I hope they
Faster
remember.
edit. Yeah, so yeah, again, all this is just creating momentum. And the angles, even like, look, I mean, obviously all you camera people, you know the level of how just even the angle of the camera makes a big difference in terms of how a shot is perceived. But here particularly, now this is more of editing than anything else. But again, because in most cases, particularly for this type of music, it's actually cut to the music. So this trailers are a little bit different because editors, again, there are a lot of the have a lot to do with how this is happening, particularly with the music. But yeah, again, it goes back to everything I was saying before, creating space for what um, for the music to do great things. So
Man.
sorry, I just love that ending. Had to play it. But yeah, so what we'll do is we'll actually, when we get closer to building our trailer, we'll come back and we'll do a little bit on live stream, get everybody's opinions as we're doing it. I'm really excited about what's happening with the Hive, and I think you will be too when you start seeing some of the footage come out, because it's we're legitimately approaching it with the same approach here, and all about being creating opportunities for the music and being intentional with what we do. But yeah, again, that's one of the main reasons for me switching from composing to producing. And we're gonna do great things. This stream will be great, especially when we start building our community, and we'll be focusing on things film, and maybe again in the future we'll have some more people on as we're continuing our stream. But yeah, I mean, for now, I think that pretty much covers everything I was thinking today. And again, we'll be coming back to some scripts on the that website, as we're looking for. Maybe we can do some script analysis and see what's happening in relationship to the script and the screen. So other than that, it was a pleasure to get back on with everyone here. And like I said, we're building as we're flying it, so we'll be getting a lot better as things happen. But for now, stay safe out there, and if you're in a cold weather, stay warm. We'll be back next Sunday, and you'll see clips on a lot of this throughout the week. And otherwise, it was a pleasure. And